Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how to achieve the effect of gold and silver. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Right, starting off with the gold earring then, I just put a centre mark in the middle of my board. It's a 4" by 4" square, and basically all I'm doing is using imaginary angles and then using that kneadable eraser from Faber-Castell just to sort of sculpture the line as well. So you can pull a line down and then just sculpture it with the eraser. The surface I'm using is Pastel matte, and the pencil here is a 708 Carbothello pencil. Now to start the study, I'm just going to get the flesh tone around the earring in, so these are the colours I use. I start off with the white Carbothello pencil there, just getting some pigment down, and then just glaze over with the warm red yellow ochre. This is just an underdrawing just to get everything in position, just correcting the outline. Using the green to desaturate the red to create natural shadows, but then I'll start doing the underdrawing then for the earring, but I keep it simple to start with, just using brown and white. Just keep things simple while you're just drawing it out and getting the shape correct. Now these are the colours I'll be using for the gold. Now a great combination really is lemon yellow and burnt sienna for gold. That's what I tend to use when I do oil painting. Right, just slowing it down to real time now so you can have a deeper look at what I'm doing. Now I'm using Faber-Castell white here because it's fresher. So I need that sort of vibrance to shine through the colour, which I'll glaze over the top. You can either use this white or the Caran d'Ache azurite, which are both as good, but the advantage with the Faber-Castell, it's harder lead, so you can sharpen it to a finer point. Now what I tend to do is actually try and connect to everything, because everything has a oneness to it, but at the same time it has its own feeling, but there's a feeling of oneness as well. It's hard to explain. So when I'm drawing this gold, I'm feeling the actual element of it. It's all about feeling it rather than thinking about the details, because if you overthink about the details it becomes very sort of rigid. But if you open up and relax and just come from your heart and sense all these subtle reflections, and you get this feeling of the gold, it's an amazing feeling when you connect all these different elements, and there's a oneness that everything belongs together, and so you actually connecting that with the skin tone as well, so it belongs and it feels like it's on that here. So I'm using small circles and just sort of getting a sort of feel for the actual texture as well, so varying the sort of pressure and varying the sort of movement of the pencil to create the skin tone. Using yellow ochre, warm red, but I'm using this for the dark areas, which is dark green and cold red, which creates more of a darker shadow, but they might need to warm that up with some warm red, so you can play about with the different reds. And this is a really smart tool to have as well, which is a colour shaper. It's a silicone tipped brush, and it's really handy for those very sort of fine areas where you can't use your finger or any other blending tool. It's really handy to have in your kit. So what I'm doing here really is working on the whole, so I'm getting all the values in there, feeling and sensing the balance of things, the colour, the temperature. Little tip is to open the eyes to see the colour, then squint the eyes to see the value. So I'm just preparing the way before I start putting the rich colours into the gold, so it'll give me more of an accurate measurement of what the value is. Now there's a lot more work to do on the skin tone, but it gave me enough really what I've done here, just so it gives me an idea of what the temperature is like and the depth of the value, So it's just a case now of just sharpening everything up. Now I started off using brown and like a purpley blue here just to see if I can get the depth of shadow I'm looking for. But then I decided to go with the Carbothello black. It's a really great black this is, because it's like a natural shadow. It's ever so subtle. And then always mix some colour with the black. I don't just put black on its own. So you saw me mixing a bit of red there. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free. Then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Now to achieve that chroma, lemon yellow is the key really. With any colour, just adding that little bit of lemon yellow just really does make a difference. It gives that zinginess to it. Now just experimenting using a bit of sandpaper here just to develop a point, because normally I just use a knife and chamfer the actual lead of the pencil till it gets really sharp. But it was interesting to try that method, but I did go back to what I normally do in the end. Just got to get that tone of white, just the right lightness, so when you glaze over the top it creates that sort of shimmer you're looking for. So it's something that comes with experience really, how much white to put down. Just following this similar technique what I do with my skin tone anyway, is just keep putting the white down, glaze over, white down, glaze over, until you get that desired effect. I'm using the olive green from the Carbothello range, which is a really nice colour to use to desaturate against the red. And you can see it actually in the reference image there. It's a greeny goldy colour, so it's a really handy colour. But what I did is add a bit of lemon yellow to it, the green and lemon yellow, and it created the same sort of colour I was looking for. The areas that are the most bright, I tend to use a Rembrandt stick. Now if you just dot it along where you want it, just find the area, be very careful not to go over the wrong place, but just dot it. And then what you can do then is use a pastel pencil just to work that pigment in and blend it with that, you see. So it's like acts as a blending tool. The key thing to get this to look like glowing and vibrant is it's all about the values. So if you get the brightest it can be, and the darkest to what value it is, and you know, it just really helps then to get the other tones and feeling right. Without getting that value to the correct depth, it won't look like 3D, it would look flat. So that's the key for it really, is to get those values right, and also the chroma with that lemon yellow, and it really puts you in good stead. Here's a close-up view how I'm using this colour shaper just to soften the edges. It's very subtle, you don't put too much pressure on or else it takes the actual pastel off the pastel mat. It's just a case of very lightly dabbing and stroking that silicone point. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my Patreons for all their wonderful support every month. Can't thank you enough, it means the world to me. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below. This study will be on there at some point as a real-time audio, real-time video where you can actually hear and see me step by step as I create it. I supply all the brand names and numbers, what I've used, and also the reference image, so you can create it along with me as I do it. Right, now for the silver earring then. So basically doing the same sort of thing, you're working from that center point, but I've got the other earring to compare against to get the shape, and just doing it very lightly, then using that kneadable eraser just to shape and sculpture the lines. It's a very unusual sort of earring sleeper this is. It's a different shape, it's sort of flat on the edge, so it's quite interesting to draw, and there's a lot of fine detail in there which is very difficult to put in when you're doing pastels. So sometimes you just have to simplify things. Just go to the outline here with the kneadable eraser. Right, here's the colours I'll be using to blend to create that silvery feel. And for the shadow areas, here's a selection here I used. Now the silver one is quite interesting to do. I've used the white to start with, made sure the point was sharp obviously, but just used the grey and white just to shape up the basic area, so it makes it nice and simple. Like I used the brown and white on the gold, I just used grey and white. It's like an underdrawing. And then I did the skin tone the same as what I did on the previous example, so I'll quickly go through that. What I did with this as well is reduce the reference image small enough so I can see the whole shape and get that feeling right, and at the side of that I had one blown up reference image so I could see the details as well. But it's just a case of just keep working on it and keep persevering with this. It's getting that shape and that curve right. Like I say, this was quite an awkward one because it was like flat and it wasn't like a normal sleeper, so there's quite a bit of detail in there, but it was interesting to do. But like I say, with the pastels you have to simplify things because obviously you're limited to how fine detail you can go. I mean, if there's an oil painting you can go on a 00 brush and probably just get all that detail in there if you wanted to, but I'm tending now to actually just be more looser and just free flowing with it and just let it be a suggestion or my interpretation of it. So when you look at it as a distance it looks very detailed, but when you look close up it's just a suggestion here and there. So that's where I'm heading really with me art, is to just to sort of keep more relaxed, because it's not so stressful. You see, if I'm trying to put every detail the same as what I'm seeing, then it can become quite taxful and become sort of tunnel vision as well with it. So I tend to sort of just keep open, just let it flow, just let it happen, and it just happens on its own. To be fair, I just keep out of the way and just let these let the expression just flow through me. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Now, to get that realism, it's all about getting the values right. Some edges like this one here is soft, and then you've got some edges which is sharp, which gives it that sort of 3D and form feel to it. It's like it's actually there. So I'm always aware of that. The colour temperature as well. I'm using blues and also using lemon yellow over the blue to create greens. As it's silver, it's like a mirror as well, so it's reflecting the skin tone onto the actual silver. Now at this point I'm forever looking in the mirror as well, just to see how it looks from a distance and from a different angle, and then just changing it accordingly. Because it's very fine detail, it's just a matter of, like I've said, just getting that suggestion right and that feeling right, that it feels like silver. I've got a lot to do on the skin tone here yet, but you can see how it's starting to shape up now with the colours of the silver. And with this being just a 4-inch square study, when you stand back and actually look at this drawing from a distance, the eye smooths everything out, so it looks a lot more shinier and smoother and more sort of realistic when you look from a distance. And that's how you really should view a painting, not really close up. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If there's any questions at all, just leave a message in the description below this video. Thank you ever so much for watching it right through to the end. Really appreciate that. Here's the study at the correct angle, rather than being in perspective on the easel. Now if you'd like to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care, bye for now.